Hi friends, my name is Javi. So I'll be conducting many chess videos, live games, and most of it from the World Chess Championships. But before that, I would like to have some basic introductory video on chess. So this video is basically for beginners who don't know how to play chess, and it will be a medium length video where I will try to demonstrate most of the important parts of chess game and how to start playing chess. So as you can see, we have total 64 squares having 16 white pieces and 16 black pieces. So basically this game is played between two players, and the white ones make the first move. So you can see these are 8 pawns. These are worth 1 point. Then behind it we have an actual army with some special abilities, like this rook can go horizontally and vertically. The knight goes 2.5 squares. Here the catch here is that the knight can jump over the pieces, but rook or any other piece can't. Like rook can't go straight or horizontally because he has been obstructed with a pawn and knight here. But in case of knight, he can go over here or here, as he can jump over a piece. So if say there was a pawn over here of his own color, that is white's color, then the knight couldn't go here. But this space is empty, so knight can go over here. The step is called 2.5. That is, he jumps over here, first square, second square, and then the half square. Likewise, we have a bishop who can go diagonally. These pieces can move backwards, but not the pawns. So once pawn move is made, pawn cannot come back. It has to go up till the 8th rank, and we can promote the pawn to whichever piece we would like rook, knight, bishop, or the queen, but not the king because king is the only one. Uh, and you win the game if you checkmate your opponent's king. So as you can see that we have a bishop who can go diagonally, we have a knight who can jump 2.5 spaces, and then we have a rook who can go vertically and horizontally. The another piece is queen who can go diagonally as well as vertically and horizontally. But queen can't jump over the pieces. Like this queen can't move anywhere for now because it's obstacled. So the queen is worth 9 points. King is infinite because once king is lost, the game is lost. And then we have a bishop and knight as a considered as a equal 3 points, and the rook is having 5 points. So sometimes having two bishops is better than a pair of knight and bishop. So say if your opponent has only one knight and one bishop, and you have two bishops, then you might be in a good position to win the game. But it depends. If the position is closed, then it makes sense to have two knights instead of the two bishops. So we have to look positionally and strategically to place these pieces in order to attack the enemies and win the game. So as I said, pawn can only go forward, not backward. So while making any pawn moves, we have to be very careful. Pawn can capture pieces diagonally to a one space. Like if there is a enemy pawn over here, then in this case this pawn cannot capture the h5 pawn. So how we denote the squares? As I said, we have 64 squares. So each square has a name. Like this square name is A1, then A2, A3. So these are the basically numbers and these are the alphabets. So whenever we want to name a square, we basically name it like this. This square belongs to EO. So it's E4. Then this is E5. Likewise, we uh, name this square. So a pawn initially can go to two space or one space from its starting position. So this pawn can go here or here. But once it left its original uh, square, then it goes only one square, not the two square. So it's our choice whether to start with the two steps or one step. But later than that, the pawn will go only one square. And when it comes to killing, it can capture diagonally one square, like this way or this way. So pawn can't capture in straight way, but it moves forward in straight. The knight can capture like this only, two and a half. It can't capture these squares, the straight squares, which is in front of it. But rook can do it. Rook can capture vertically, horizontally. Bishop can capture diagonally. King moves only one step, so he can go like anywhere, but only one step. King can go forward and come backward as well. Then we have a castling rule, which is basically to protect the king. So once we start playing chess, we will come to know about this rule. We have some more rules like n%. So first, let's go with it. So let's say we made a move, knight move. Then our opponent makes a pawn move, and I just play this move. And then there is one more move from black. And instead of capturing, I decided to play a pawn move. That is, I played two moves forward in one go. So in this case, this pawn was basically guarding this square because pawn can capture diagonally. So here what happened is this pawn surpasses this square before going to the c4 square. We pass from c3 square. So in this case, only when this happens only at the row of 4th or 5th. So here you can see this n% rule works. So in this case only, pawn can capture over here. Here the pawn has two options. He can capture directly over here, or he can capture this pawn like this. Same case can happen with black as well. See, I played this move. E4, and then instead of capturing he makes this move, and then we have another pawn move, and the black plays move f5. So here the white has option to do this n% capture. So these are the basic chess moves through which we can start our game. Then how to end a game? Basically we have to checkmate a king. For that the rule is king should be attacked by the opponent piece and there is no safe square for king to move. So as I said, king can only move one square, so it's very important to keep the king in a safety zone. So that's why we have a rule of castling in chess where we keep our king at the corner of the board to protect him from the attack. So how it works, the king can castle king side or the queen side. So the board is basically divided into two parts. This part is known as a queen side part and this part is known as a king side part. So king has option to castle king side or queen side. So let's make some random moves so that I can show you what is king side castle is. So in this case, there is no piece between king and rook. So castling can happen in this case that king moves two squares from its original position. That is, he passes the f square and g square and basically passes the f square and go to the g square, and similarly rook has passed the g square and came to f square. So in this case, the king side castle has happened. So now the king is in safety zone because he's at the corner of the board, and there can be a major action in the middle of the board, but the king will remain safe at the king side. So the attack from black will shift towards the king side corner because the king isn't at the corner of the board. So this is how king side castle works. The exception is there should not be any piece between king and rook. The second thing is check. So the king should not be checked before by opponent piece, and the king or rook should not have moved. Then only this castling thing happens. So most of the time it makes sense to do the castle at the early stage, because later on what happens is that these two squares may be attacked by the opponent. Like, say we are making random moves over here. Here the castling can happen from black side because there is no piece in between king and rook, and both of the king and rook haven't moved yet. So say the king was in check, that is, in this case the king is in check, the head bishop captures the pawn and the king is in check. So in this case king can't do castling because he is in check, as well as the g square is protected or attacked by the bishop. So he can only move to f, but he can't do a castle. So it's better to castle at the early stage. So later on, even if it is attacked by two pieces of white, still the king is in safe zone and the rook is basically defending the pawn. Similarly, we can have a queenside castle. So we will start opening up the queen side for the black, and now we can see that we have no pieces between the black king and rook, as well as nobody of white pieces are attacking these three squares or the e or a square. So the black can now castle over here, but it's not black's move, so I have to make something for white. And now it doesn't make any sense to castle because the white is attacking the black bishop. So first black bishop has to be saved from the pawn, and later on black can castle. So it has to, so basically when playing chess we have to just see what our opponent is up to and what is planning to do, and then accordingly we have to move. So maybe this n% rule or castling rule is confusing, but as we see upcoming games you will get used to it. So let's start with a basic game. Say we have to make a move, so we are starting with a pawn move. Reason being is that the most of the action happens at the middle board, so it's very important to cover these four squares or at least attack these four squares. So to gain a space and have influence in this center squares, we start with the move e4. There are basically two options to start with, d4 or e4. We can make knight moves or any other moves as well, any other pawn moves, but the most favorite choice is e4. Black can do the same. The reason being is that you're opening up the space and trying to open up the lines for bishop as well as the queen in a one go. Like we made only single move, and now both queen is free and bishop is free to make a move. So that's how we try to make moves which are more fruitful in upcoming scenarios where we have to play some tactical game. So say we improve our position of bishop because bishop was doing nothing over here. So we moved our bishop to the square c4 and we targeted the weakness f7 in black's army. So if you notice the position, all the pawns are defended at the initial stage. This pawn is protected by rook, this pawn is protected by the bishop, the c7 pawn is protected by the queen, but there is only one pawn, that is f7 pawn and f2 pawn, which is protected by king. And king is a weakness because once the king is in bad position or getting checkmated, then the game is lost. So this f7 pawn or f2 pawn can be targeted very easily. So we are basically targeting this weakness, and say your opponent black ignores the threat and plays a move, knight move, which is also a good move because it's a developing move, and focus towards the center, that now this knight can go over here, that is basically it's guarding the pawn e5, which was not defended by any other piece earlier. Also it can go to the a5 square like 1 2 and 2.5 square, or you can go to b4 square or d4 square. So basically from this position knight was able to go to only a6 and c6, and he can guard the d7 pawn. So he was able to go to only 3 squares. But now by playing the move c6, he can go to a7, e7, then e5, a5, and b4, d4. So he has a lot of, as well as knight can go backwards. So he can go to d8 or b8. So he has a lot of options. So knight position is improved, and then white makes a move queen to f3. So basically white is targeting towards the f7 weakness, and black has to first answer this threat, otherwise he will lose a pawn and game as well. So we have to first answer your opponent's threat and then play. Suppose black ignores this threat and goes with the move knight to d4, then basically what black is threatening, he wants to capture this c2 pawn, which is now not protected by the queen as it has moved. And what he's threatening to do is he's threatening to check the king, that is 1 2 2.5, and once king moves, the black is planning to capture this rook by 1 2 and 2.5 square move. So basically knight can jump over the pieces. That is the basic plan over here. As I had told you earlier, the knight is worth 3 points and the rook is worth 5 points. So it makes sense to trade a knight with a rook in this position. But black has ignored the threat that the f7 pawn is weak. So instead black should have played the move knight to f6 in order to avoid this threat. But because this threat is ignored, now white can capture it with capture the f7 pawn with the queen or with the bishop. So if it is captured by the bishop, then the check is given, that is now the white piece is attacking the black piece, black king, but the king has a escape square, that king can go to a e7, so it is a normal check. So check can be uh, dealt with two ways. One way is to move the king to a safer square or to kill the piece. So in this case king can't kill the bishop because the bishop is protected by the queen, and any other black piece can't capture this bishop. because knight moves only 2.5 squares. Bishops can capture diagonally, and the rook and queen are just stuck over here. But still, it doesn't make sense for white to capture it with a bishop, because with this move, the king has an escape square, that is a e7 square. But instead, if the white captures with the queen, then it's a check and a mate. So mate is basically the king has no escape square, and it is checked. So the game is lost for black in this case. Same thing can happen for white as well. Like, say we make similar moves. Now white is the one who is trying to attack the weakness in c7, but similarly black can also capture this thing and checkmate the opponent. So thing can happen both ways. Like at the initial state, white has an advantage because it's making a first move, but apart from that, if you see, the army is same, so anyone can win. So whoever keeps playing patiently and tactically and strategically wins the game. So I will have many more videos coming up, with most of them having international GM games, and I will teach and we will try to analyze some of the more deeply strategically played games as well. Thank you for watching this video, and please do subscribe and like. Thank you so much.